basic mission, our job was simply to go and put up a tent. If any of you are familiar with Brother Ralph Sexton and their tent meetings, that's the tent that we took over, and they donated that tent to the Turkish people.
Wow.
And so that was our job. It wasn't to give out food. It wasn't whatever. So that's what we did.
How big is that tent, Rob?
That tent, well, this is the thing. One section of it has got lost.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if it's in the warehouse in Istanbul, if it's at JFK Airport, I don't know. That was 25 feet wide. That was like a middle section. And so, but anyway, we still put it up. It's still around 24,000 square feet. So it's a big tent. We put up 3 poles. There was one more pole we could have added. Main mast poles. So we left Atlanta 9:30 on Tuesday night. Now I found out the Thursday before. He called, I think it was, wanted to know if I'd be available to go. And so Pastor Winston and their video man from Trinity Church went over ahead to go ahead and make sure the stuff had gotten there. And get it. So we left about 9:30 from Atlanta, flew direct to Istanbul, had a short layover, then flew from Istanbul to how you say it, Adana or whatever, Adana. And then it was dark when we left there, and we flew by Coast Guard helicopter over to, I think it's Antalya, because Hatay is the province that borders Syria. And so we flew into the city, and then we traveled by police truck on over to where we was at. By that time, it's probably, I don't know, 11 o'clock, it may have been maybe 12. And so we find out we got some soldiers coming the next morning to put this thing up. So we went ahead that night and started laying it out. Because we had lights, they had a generator and some lights. They had Turkish commandos, about 100 soldiers the next morning. And there, and of course, they're putting a fence up. They'd already started putting up these little tent-like things. They've got a number of them put up. So we stayed in one of them. And let me tell you something. You guys that love to camp can have it. You can have it. Man, we got cold. The first night, I slept completely dressed, socks on, gloves on my hand, toboggan, hoodie, still got cold. The next night, I think Greg said, it was about 30 degrees. And so one of the guys, who's a real outdoorsman, I hug his neck. Boy, he went prepared. He put one of these old 55-gallon barrel stoves on the stuff going over. And I'm so thankful, man. Get out there and try to get warm. And then also he could cook on it. So that night we had chicken noodle soup. You know, they've got their little box of hopes with soup. So we had chicken noodle soup. And then the next morning it seemed like we had soup. And I had a peanut butter sandwich. And so anyway. But to go on with that, so we finished laying off the next morning. Soldiers sure enough showed up, Turkish commandos. Guys were friendly. I'm impressed with Turkey. Impressed with the people and stuff like that. The language is like crazy. It's like, oh my word. It's like, it's a hard language. And so, but they provided a young lady, Isha. I'm close to her name was. And she was interpreter. So she'd come over each morning and she did interpreting between us and the soldiers. And of course, one of the men could speak some English. And so we got ready, started working on the tent, getting it, you know, if you're familiar with it, you lay out these big mast poles. And the things, when they're ratcheted all the way up, they'll reach up about 30 feet in the air. And because you got one inserting in the other, and you lift them up, and of course the whole tent has to be laced together, all this kind of stuff. And so I got time to lift the poles up. And you should have seen these soldiers. I got a picture of about 20 of them trying to get this mast pole raised up, because when Greg would do it, they would use a machine, you know. And so anyway, and of course you got these soldiers, and John, y'all familiar. These guys walking around, with their guns, they're ready to go, boy. There's no jump. Well, come to find out today, today. The Hatay province borders Syria. When I began to do a little research, this is a disputed area. Syria at one time thought this is their area. And of course, that's not even counting ISIS and all that crazy stuff. And so you got these soldier dudes and they're guarding things. And then you'd see their military trucks running around. They had plenty of military there. So we get the tent up. Of course, off in the distance, you can see snow-covered peaks. Give you an idea about the temperature. Well, once the tent gets up, we kind of walk next door, it's just over the peaks. See, they're still building, I don't know if it's United Nations, if it's the soldiers, they're still building these plastic tents for, it's like a refugee city, I guess, a refugee town. And we're living in one of them, and but they got a fence between that and just a ramshackle place, man. It's just where people are doing the best they can do. Maybe just make them a hut or whatever to try to live in. So they brought a bunch of Turkish cookies over for us, so we thought we want to take some over to these little children. One of the soldiers go with us, one of the men that was kind of hanging around, he was friendly, so he takes us and shows us where his family's home was at, wiped out. It's just, so we go in there and giving out cookies to kids and things, and, which I guess are getting ready to move those people and others into these refugee tents. One of the things that was weird that I'd never experienced before, early in the morning they start the Muslim call to prayer, and I mean that's the weirdest thing. Pitiful, yeah.
30?
They start all that stuff.
Five times a day.
And so anyway, but I did not see one soldier bow down to pray or nothing like that. I think Turkey is kind of a quasi-secular state. And anyway, the tent got up. Friday morning, pretty much everything was done with exception of putting the flaps up. Now, the sides of this tent, they're not quite that, they're close to that tall, not quite that tall. So you need a ladder. We didn't have a ladder.
Oh.
So you know what they did, don't you, Randy?
But
But them boys jumped up on the shoulder. Here they go to it. They start hanging them flaps up, man. And so one of the soldiers, his name was Olson. You always got kind of a happy person in every crowd. And so I had a name tag on, so he knew my name. And so Friday he said, "How old are you?" And I said, 69. And he gets my hand and kisses it. And puts his head against my chest. I guess like grandpa or something like that, you know. Normally the whole tent project takes longer than that, but we were not putting up lights, we were not putting up platforms, just the tent. All right?
There's I'll probably log into somebody's Facebook if you want to see pictures, or you can look at it. It's under Hearts with Hands. Or
You can go to Hearts with Hands. Your Facebook, you can go to Facebook right now and go to Hearts with Hands.
And you will see the
and
pictures
see a
of
number
that
of
tent.
pictures.
Is this
Yeah.
the same tent that he would use like at the fairgrounds?
That was it. That was the one that you've been under.
Yes,
You
sir.
said they're leaving it?
They're leaving it. Yes, Winston, who's the pastor up there now, it's Ralph's grandson, went up there and kind of officially said, you know, they were giving it to Turkish people. So we're not going back to get it. It's going to stay.
That's a tent that goes across in like sections in 53-foot size
This
containers.
is a massive tent. Can you bring it up?
I could if I
Or is it
had
messy?
it.
Oh, I
It's a
see.
little messy.
Yeah,
You're not
oh
on
yeah,
it.
it's not,
I
yeah,
just don't
yeah.
have no Facebook.
Gotcha.
Somebody has a Facebook account.
You can go to Facebook right now, click on Hearts with Hands, and you'll see the tent. You'll see the tent. And so, they were really good to us, so we got it arranged, and they took us to the airport, flew us back again, Coast Guard helicopter, right back over to the airport, and we left. That's why it was a quick trip. We pretty much had one job to do. And our job on this one was not food distribution, it was be sure the tent goes up. So, appreciate your prayers.
Awesome, man.